Thank you for joining us for this sermon podcast from United Church on the Green, located in New Haven, Connecticut. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are invited and welcome. If you enjoy this podcast and would like to learn more about our open and affirming ministry at United Church on the Green, please visit our website at unitednewhaven.org. Thank you.
Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all of Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. God is still speaking. Amen.
Would you pray with me, please? O Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our Redeemer. Amen. So the theme that goes throughout the Gospel of Matthew passage that Alan read to us this morning really is, where is the Christ child? And clearly the Gospel of Matthew tells us that it was those wise men who followed the light. But I want us all to talk about, where is the Christ child in our midst? And how is it that we follow the light? What does that light cause us to do? Clearly, we know that those very wise men knew that they were to follow the light of the star in the dark sky. And if only I could turn off all the lights and shutter all the windows, and all we could see was the star, that beautiful star. I believe it was David Wineland who brought that star to this church, was it not?
Yes.
Many years ago, and I just think that star is such a symbol for us of what it is for us to follow the light of that star in a dark sky. So today we celebrate Epiphany, and I told you all what the word Epiphany means in Greek, and what is that translation? Reveal. Today we do celebrate what it is to have Christ revealed to us. My grandson gave me those 3 candles for Christmas, and I thought how appropriate they would be to light the way for those wise men on their way to the manger. This is also Dan Roush and Kathy's 40th wedding anniversary. He's never here that day because they're off to celebrate otherwise, but he always reminds me 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week before Epiphany what an important day that is in the liturgical calendar for him. And so do remember that as God's light is revealed to us on Epiphany, we also have the light that is represented in Kathy and Dan's 40 years of marriage. So for those wise men, that light brought them to the stable where the Prince of Peace, the Messiah, the child with us, the light of the world was born. I am always haunted and always will be by the glow of the candles on this Christmas Eve service that we have every year, one of the most special services of this church. When the lights go out and we all sing Silent Night with our candles glowing, light in the dark sanctuary, a promise to all of us for the light of the world. Even though we can't always see the stars at night, or even the bright moon if it's cloudy, we know for a fact that it is there. And I am reminded of 5 years ago, on one of the darkest times in my life, that I would wake up in the morning and I would look out and I'd watch the sunrise come up, and I would say, yes, Christ is always with me, even in the darkest moments of my life. And truly, this congregation has been a symbol for me of that light that shines in the darkness and gives me a path forward. Light is always promised to each and every one of us in the midst of darkness. As you all know, I can't see very well in the dark, and now I no longer even drive in the dark, but how I love the light. I love daylight savings time. That's my favorite day of the year. But how I love light. I love daylight savings time every day until it's not daylight savings anymore. I am so sensitive to the light. And I love flashlights and blinker plugs, as we used to call fireflies as a child. And I love glow sticks. So many people on Christmas Eve thanked me for the glow sticks that we gave the children. Not only that it saved our meeting house from fire, thank God, but the fact that children have a way of having light as well in the darkness. You know, I'm very much like a moth that is attracted to light. But I'm also, as you know, a psychotherapist as well as an ordained minister, and I know well that there are many whose lives are lived in darkness, who might yearn for the light, but who are really encapsulated by it. And in paralysis, they turn away from this light as they fear being blinded by what it exposes, or terrified of being burnt or released as it is too painful. And so often, people will run away, and peace and wholeness and fullness in a good sense is just beyond their reach, out of the thin space that lies veiled in the distance. There's another poem that I love that I've shared with you before, but I think it really should be read again. It's from Anne Weems, and it's called Toward the Light, and it goes like this. Too often our answer to the darkness is not running toward Bethlehem, but running away. We ought to know by now that we can't see where we're going in the dark. Running away is rampant. Separation is stylish. Separation from mates, from families, from self. And run and tranquilize and don't talk about it. Avoid. Run away and join the army of those who have already run away. When are we going to learn that Christmas peace comes only when we turn and we face the darkness? Only then will we be able to see the light of the world. It was the three kings of Orient far, the wise men who traversed afar, through and field and mountain, moor and mountain, through the darkness to find the star, leading us to the perfect light, who teach how significant it was for them and for us to turn and to face the darkness, to be able to see the light of this world and find that Christmas peace. And when the Magi followed the star in the east, they found that Christ child, and they were filled with joy and were on their knees, and they honored him. But let's not stop there. There's another part of that passage that is incredibly important for us to hear. And that is, as the Magi approached the child, gave their gifts, and showed homage to the Messiah, the child of the light, they then did not return to Herod. They turned away, and they went back another way. You see, people, I see this as a revolutionary act. They disobeyed the king, they disobeyed the powers of the day, and through the light that they had been exposed to, through the Christ child, were called to do justice, to seek mercy and to seek kindness, and to save the life of this child. They went by another way. So my challenge to each of you today, as you see the light of Epiphany, the star in the darkness, that to you it not only exposes where the Christ child is, where the Christ child is in your life, and knowing that and recognizing that, you will hear the challenge that the light of the Christ child calls each and every one of us to justice, to see kindness and mercy, and to live life in a different way. Do you hear that challenge? Do you see it? Will you live it? Will you?
Yes.
Will you?
Yes.
We're a much more responsive crowd the second time around. May God be with you all. Amen.